I'm trying to, well, let me start off with a little number first because it'll segue into it. Let me just see. I don't know if I can do this at the same time. Let's see. What kind of view is that there? No, you can't see. Can you see feet there? A little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
if I'm playing. You won't have my head in the picture if I do that. So I guess you can tell me that view or this view is which is better.
I'm fine
Oh,
with
I'm
it.
still
I
cut
like
off
the
either.
lower one because it looks better, but you know,
I'm cut. My
we
head's
don't
cut
need.
off anyway, but it doesn't matter. My head doesn't matter. It's what I'm playing in the hands and feet. All
Yeah,
right, and
we
there's a
see enough
reason.
of your face. Show us your feet now.
Okay, can you see my feet?
You bet.
Okay, it's part of the it's part of the story for today's class. So, did you hit record?
I sure did.
Oh my goodness, how long have we been recording?
3 minutes.
Oh my goodness, this is embarrassing. People all around the world are going to see me doing all that other stuff beforehand. But let me get started here with some music to get your musical brain going. Okay, well, I hope that turned out okay. There's a reason I did that because I'm going to give you a setup on that. But I got to tell you a funny story because the story is about what you're going to get today. I'm huffing and puffing. I just turned 49 a week ago.
Poor thing.
Or on the 28th, however long ago. So that's a little harder to do nowadays. move around like that. And looking at the faces, I could see some of you are not very sympathetic. Yes, laughing at me. So I noticed Sean, before the class started, he was saying hello to some of the students. A lot of the students were from the Mesa area. Mike Dickens, you're from Mesa in that area, right? So some of the Tucson students also. Do you remember a gentleman by the name of Todd Stapleton? All right, Todd Stapleton was a very talented, gifted person, worked with us for many years. I think 7, 8, maybe 9. I can't remember exactly when. And he's a man of many talents. But I remember when he actually was started here at this store, and he was working real hard at, just like all of us did. I don't look a day over 48. Thank you, Larry. I lied. I just turned 70. Anyway, so as time went on and he was learning a lot of songs, I used to do these events that we called new family parties, or as some of the salespeople know them as in-reaches. And all that means is we would do a show in the store, and I perform about a 35-minute concert just to really get, and these were folks that had never attended our store before. So they don't know who Fletcher Music is. They don't know anything about learning to play. They hear about a free concert and they show up, and they want some great music. So that's what we did. And we give them this great show. And then about 35 minutes or so into the show, I would then segue over to the beginner's model and show them how the beginner's model worked and how easy music was. And then we'd offer some lessons, and we tell about our beginner's models. And we did a lot of those. Well, over time, at the time, Todd, he didn't really play pedals then. Actually, he didn't play pedals at all. and I was teaching him how to do the show. The trick was, if you notice those pedals I was doing, he was like, there's no way I can do that, obviously, because he'd never played pedals. And there were several songs I did with pedals. So what I did was I programmed the organ with my show, song by song, step by step, and I reprogrammed them all with just 2 fingers, like if a 2-finger player, so he could do that. And he was getting comfortable with it. And then one day, I was just kind of, it was just one of those days. I walked in and there was like 3 people there, or 4. It wasn't a big crowd, and I wasn't in the mood. And I said, hey Todd, like 5 minutes before the show, I said, you've been working on that stuff for a while now. Why don't you go do the show? And then I walked away. And you could see the look on his face. Well, lo and behold, he went and did the show, and it actually worked out well. The jokes he had to work on, though. I had certain jokes that I did over and over. So what I ran across this morning was my setups that I gave him. And I thought about it, and I thought, these weren't very complex setups. In some cases, they're very easy. And I thought, I'm going to give you as many of these setups as I can in whatever time frame we have today, okay? So that's the long story of how these setups came about. But that particular one, I'll get to last, all right? Because that was the last song I did before I segue over to the beginner's model. And if you want that setup with 2 fingers, which I'll tell you what I did, you have to stick around for the class to get them at the end. So anyway, yes, I'm a rotten person, aren't I? I see Dottie just shaking her head there. All right. So first one I'm going to do for you today is a relatively simple one. And let's see here. You have that angle. You're going to have to deal with that angled right now. And I use pedals on this one too. But what I used to do, I ended up eventually opening up my shows with marches. But in the beginning, when I did these shows for many years, I used to open up with a Broadway tune. And I'm not going to play the whole song. I'll just give you a little snippet so I can get through a lot of this today. But I'd start off with this. Okay, now you can hear that. Okay, show of hands. You can hear that okay? Yes? Oh, okay, all right. So then I'd start off like this. Okay, and then I'd play the song, and I'd play it all the way through, and then I'd get to the middle of the song, transpose up a half a step. I'll talk about this in a minute. And then I'd go into this. And then I'd finish with something like this. Okay, and so you can see it progressively just build and so forth. So when I was first doing this with Todd, he was well, how in the heck I can do that? However, now I have this set up two ways today, folks. So when I teach this, I could show you, and I'm going to tell you what I did in a moment, but watch. Let's see if that, can you see that angle there? I'm going to have to skid over here. Here we go. Watch. Preset 2. Now listen closely. I want you to listen closely to the bass player. All right, here we go. Now listen closely. Ooh. So when I was playing the pedals over here, relatively simple, at the very end of that Broadway, I moved my finger around. So the question is someone may ask, you can unmute yourself to ask, what did you do, Robert?
What did you do, Robert?
You know, I'm glad you asked.
What did you do, Robert?
I'm so glad you asked, because if it was going to be silent, I just thought maybe you didn't want to know. And we'd be sitting here for a while. Real simple. All right. First of all, obviously have a Broadway style on. The two songs that I featured, there was no Do Re Mi and No Business Like Show Business. All right. Better sit here so I can see my face. And I went Do Re Mi, No Business Like Show Business, and then back to Do Re Mi. And all I did is I used the Broadway style. Now, if you put on Broadway with rhythm preset or style setup, and folks, I don't know what you all have. I know what some of you have. If you have an easy series or the little SD here, look at this. I even set this up for today. It'll work the same over here. And so I'll play it in a minute. Now, believe it or not, some organs don't have a Broadway style. What do I do? What do I do if I don't have a Broadway style? Well, simple. Most models, even our basic beginners models, the Discovery 3 has a march. March and Broadways are very similar in nature. Okay? So that is your alternative. In fact, I've even played that song with a march because I kind of liked it with the march beat sometimes, just to mix it up. So if you just use the rhythm preset or the style setup, depending on the organ you have, typically what happens is it sets up a nice big full organ sound with some strings, and it also gives you a harmony. Now, when I play it, I don't use the harmony, okay, because I do some of my own harmonies from time to time, and it's a big forward sound. So I'm just going to tell you that's up to you. Now, the one thing I did do, and I'm going to caution you on this, is when I put on Broadway with rhythm preset, I'm just going to put it on, it typically comes up at a tempo of around 135, 137. Let's see what it does over here. On the SD, they call it showtime. It's at 135. Okay? And it typically comes on with a harmony. In this case, it says octave AOC. I prefer to have it off when I play it, but again, it doesn't matter what I want. It's how you want it to be. When I play the song, however, what I did is I played it at 155. So this is a great song to play, or this is a great tempo to put it at if you feel like you need to lose a few lose a few pounds. Because 155, even if you don't play the song and you're sitting there tapping along with it, you're going to burn a few calories, I tell you. All right. So what I did was I have the Broadway, or actually there's a Broadway style, or some of you have one called theater organ under the Broadway category. Okay. I have it at tempo 155. I took off the harmony, and I start off just simple like this. Okay, and then I let it play through, and then partway through the song, listen for the change. Just a mild change, okay? If you have it, use it. If you don't have it, it's okay. All I did was I switched to a drum variation. It just kind of changes the feel of the song. Okay? Just changes it up a little bit. Same setting throughout the whole song. And the last thing I did that makes the song impressive when I play it. Now, again, when I was playing these songs in front of groups, at when I finished the song off, I played the bass pedals very fast. And people will go, wow. And then I'd always have the question afterward, how do you know what notes to hit on the pedals? I've even had some of you ask me that. And the answer is, I really don't know what I'm doing down there. I just know that if you move your feet like crazy and you end up on the C pedal, because that's the correct chord that goes with it, it's going to sound good and people are going to go, wow. You should try it sometime. It'll work. Janice, you're laughing. This is true, Janice. True story. All right. But if you don't want to play the pedals and you have the theater organ style as an option, you switch from auto bass 1, listen closely, to auto bass 2. Wow, that bass player is just going crazy. Whew, that's a workout. And that's all I did in that song. The only difference is when I play it for people in concert, I have it set up manually, and then I'm doing all of that work. When really it's originated with the theater organ Broadway style at a tempo 155, and then I actually have to do more work to set it up for me. I have to turn off the memory, I have to turn off the one finger chords, I have to do everything manually. Now, that's a little bit fast for most people, and even for the song, but it's impressive when I do it in concert. Choose the tempo that works for you. Okay? So what I do is I start off the show, I play a little show tune, get everybody riled up, it's upbeat and happy. The second song I do is I do a little bit of big band. And anybody here know Glenn Miller? You know who Glenn Miller? Ron, you're raising your hand like, yeah, I know who this guy is. Come on. You don't look old enough to me. Maybe your mom and dad your mom and dad told you about Glenn Miller, right?
I know who it is.
He did a lot of big band music. So anyway, I do a little big band number, and I saved this on a preset for Todd when I did this, but the reality is all I did was use what was in the organ. All right, check this out. So I'm going to put big band, the swing band. Now, virtually everybody has the swing band style. All right. And everybody's got a big band style. And oh, by the way, before I forget, I'll play a few notes over here of that do, re, mi. Here we go. I guess you could use it for that too. Now I'm avoiding a lot of holiday Christmas music right now because I know everybody's teaching in the classes right now. We got some Christmas shows coming up here for everybody, so you're going to hear a lot of Christmas. So I figured I'd do something a little different today. All right, so back to big band, Glenn Miller. So I'm just going to push simply the big band, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do before I do it this time. Okay, so I'm just putting big band. Rhythm preset 0, style setup 0. Now, by the way, if you have an E series model with a vintage button on it, okay, use vintage 0. All right. Now, if you don't have vintage, use the style setup. Let me see what. Let me put on the swing band here. The style setup will be a nice little flavor to it as well. However, you want to find a preset that has some saxophones with a harmony on it. Okay, so if you go to your category setups, oops, let me move this over here. If you go to your category setups, and you have on here or in the screen, if you have big band number 9 gives you a nice little saxophone ensemble. All right. If you have rhythm preset 0 or vintage 0, it'll give you the saxophones automatically. All right. So what I do is I start off simply with a big band, the swing band style. The tempo comes up is perfect. It's at 137. All right. I'm going to admit Maryland here real quick. And the rhythm preset, and it gives you, now there's one little trick here. If you have it, use the alter style. All right. Because what's going to happen, and a little interesting thing about the alter style, when it came out, it was a big deal for especially for us, because it was introduced officially in 2001 on the Lowry Royale. So 2001, by that time I had been in the business since 93, almost 8 years. Okay, and there's been at that time some employees have been in Fletcher Music longer than that, and they've heard this big band style for a long time. So normally it sounds like this. You're familiar with it. And then it sounds like this. Those fill-ins, by the way, are designed to fit within the mood. All right. But I did in reverse. I actually start off with Little Brown Jug first, and then I go into in the mood. All right. But what I do is I put on the alter style. Now listen. Now that's the only way it's going to work, folks. When you're at home, you have to actually go like this. Okay? If you have windows and neighbors that can see you, they're going to go, what is that person doing? Okay, so it brings out like this doo-wop, with the muted, where they don't actually mute it. They use a cup and they just give it that wah sound, all right? And then that's just all I do is I put the rhythm on with rhythm preset, And then what the alter style's on. The key to this is have alter style on during the introduction, because the alter style does not affect the introduction endings. It only affects it once it's actually playing. Okay? So the minute it starts playing, it's already in alter style. So listen. Then you can do something like, I'll give it one more measure or two. Whew, that's a hard note to hit. Okay, and then, so what I'll do is I'll play a little bit of that, and then I'll bring in, actually I just go to rhythm preset 7. If you don't have a rhythm preset, find a scat vocal. Some of you have a vocal do, a scat vocal that works nice for it. But here's what I typically do while I'm playing. I put on the no chord, the smash, and C, all right? And for those of you who are a little newer to the no chord, we call it the smash because if you hit 3 notes, including the sharp, close to each other, it'll cut off the background and just leave the drummer. We say smash because if you put your hand and you smash it, you're surely going to get at least 3 notes. And that's the idea of that. All right? And then what happens is while it's playing, I do some of this, and then I'll increase the tempo, and I go up to about 180, 185, and then I do something like this. So, and I do that song a lot in concert, and a lot of times people think I have some fancy setups for it. That's all I really do. I start off with the swing band, rhythm preset, the tempo that it gives me. The only thing I do is the alter style. And I play it a little while, and then halfway through the song, when I'm done playing Little Brown Jug, I hit the no chord, increase the tempo while that drummer is playing, and then a lot of times I'll just use my fill-in there with the drummer doing a fill-in. So it sounds like it's part of the act until I get to the tempo that I want it. And then when it's time, I actually stop it. And you don't have to, but a lot of people, when I've taught them this little setup, they say, well, why do you stop it? Because remember those fills that were happening that fit in the mood? They're designed to start from scratch. So if while the organ's been playing the whole time, the fills may not match. What I'll do is I'm playing it. Now watch. Okay. So what I'll do is when I go back to playing the song, I stop it first, because then once I start playing the melody, that's a little harder to do all at once to show you all, but you can kind of hear those fills happening there. Now, if you don't get it spot on, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's just a little something extra for you. Okay? So, how are we doing so far? I gave you a nice quick setup. So the reason why I'm doing this, folks, is because you remember what I told you, how this show came about. The purpose of the show when I was doing these, now mind you, I was doing these 8 to 10 times a month. And and my jokes didn't change. I'm not telling you all of the jokes, but I told the same jokes at the same spot, and everybody laughed, but my staff, because they had heard it 100 times. But I have to tell you, people like Jerome, boy, you could they're really good because they would laugh like they heard it the very first time. They're really good at that. But I did this so much that I figured if I'm talking to 10 people a show and I sign up 2 or 3 students at a time, every time, eventually I have a lot of new students. So I'm giving you this information so you can rehearse and do your own shows and introduce students for us at Fletcher Music. So we're going to put you to work here, folks. I got some really mean looks going on here. I'm just kidding. Sylvia, I see that face. There we go. Okay. So anyway, I start off with a little Broadway, sometimes a march. Then I play a little big band. I like to mix it up a little bit. And then I have a little fun. And I always did a nice little simple, hey, good looking, what you got cooking. All right. And so what I'll do is, and again, I had a setup for this, but I only use what was in the organ for this one. So I put on a simple country swing, which is country. Like if you turn on the organ and start from scratch and you put on just country with a rhythm preset or a style setup, all right, you're going to get just a nice good old classic country setup. All right, and you get, all right, but I went a step further. I went to the country category setup. Now, if you don't have a category setup country, I'm going to tell you what the 2 sounds are, and more than likely you have one or both. All right, and the reason why I say this is even if you have a basic model, you can play this song. All right, and you can play relatively similar to this. So I set up the country, and I put on rhythm preset to get the balance of the band going. Then I go to the country category. Now I'm going to pull up my screen here, and on my screen I have preset information. Okay. Now, by the way, folks, throughout this class, I am mentioning some really golden features here. When I did the Broadway, I talked about just using the setup that it gave me, but all I did in the change of that was I used drum variation and auto bass were the 2 major buttons that altered the styling of that rhythm. When I did the big band, I did the same thing. I used what it set up for me, and then by simply using the no chord feature, the alter style in the beginning, and then inevitably the no chord feature, I do that a lot because it allows me to segue to another song. When you have just a drummer going and you're using a fill-in and it gives you time to hit a different preset, the only thing you hear is the drummer. But if you don't and you're changing all these things, you hear the entire band going the whole time. If you were to hold a fill-in, it would be a little bit too much. So those are some key features that pay attention to that, because a lot of times the artists do that. Sometimes we're in their moment and we're thinking we're playing the song, and I'm thinking to myself, a lot of times they may not tell you this, but I know they do that. I do it all the time. I'm playing and I'm already thinking my next song. And I'm thinking, what should I play? Or what other song could I play while I'm doing this and turn it to a medley? And a lot of times I'll think, oh, I'll do that. But then I have to change a sound. And I don't want it to make it look like, oh, I just thought of this. So what I'll do is I'll hit a no chord, hit a fill-in, let the drummer do its thing. It'll sound like I'm doing it on purpose. And then I'll go into the next song, and guess what? People are amazed. Wow. I'm letting you in on all of our little dirty secrets here. Okay, back to country. So I have the country, I have the rhythm preset on, just a nice simple setup, right? The only difference is I go to the country category, I'm using my preset information screen, and I actually start off with number 4. Now, If you don't have the country category and you're wondering what does number 4 give you, let me tell you. It's going to set up a really neat harmonica sound down here. Let's see if I can get a little closer here. The lighting may not be all that great. Let me change views and see if this works a little better. There we go. So country 4, but the screen may not be that easy to see on there. And it says Tremolo Guitar. Okay. And Tremolo Guitar basically sounds like this. But if you hold the note down, it does a tremolo. That's a great sound if you're doing songs like Tennessee Waltz. It's a great setup for that. But I also like it with Hey Good Look at What You Got Cooking. And on the bottom here, it gives us a harmonica. Now, if you don't have, if you're one that has an instrument that does not have the split keyboard, just simply find your guitar sound on the instrument. Every organ has a guitar. And if it's not a tremolo guitar and it's not a country guitar, you have a guitar. I've not seen an organ in years, even our basic model, not have a guitar sound. And then just alternate from one sound to the other, maybe to the harmonica, okay? If you don't have a harmonica, the key is to alternate the sound with something else. Alternate it with a, let's see here. I have guitar. I can alternate it with a piano. Actually, guitar and piano might be a good alternate back and forth with this song. But I'm going to alternate from a guitar to a harmonica, and then I have one extra little thing I like to do at the end of this song sometimes. I don't always do it, but I did once in a while. So here we go. So we got. Okay, and then I play it again. All right, and then what I do is in the next part of the song, in the middle part, I've got a, how does that words go? I got a hot rod. Anybody know the words to that part? I got a hot rod. Ford and a what? $2 bill. I hear Jerome in the background yelling, $2 bill. What is, okay, see, this song's always been, as many times as I played this song, I always knew the first 2 verses, hey, go look what you got cooking, and then, hey, sweet baby, don't you think maybe, and I would get everybody singing along, and in the next part, when everybody started singing, I never knew the words, so I always went, I got a hill, and it just blended in with everybody, and so I always got pulled it off, but now that I have you here, and I'm the only one talking, I really need to know the words. So we got a hot rod, Ford, and a $2 bill, Jerome said. Wow, I haven't seen a $2 bill in a long time. And then the rest of the words go, the hills, yeah. That's why I play the harmonica part. Joe, stop laughing at me. This is serious business here. All right, here we go. Okay, now I'm just doing no chord just so I can talk to you. But then I do this. Drum variation. Simple little thing. Now watch how it just changes just the feel of the song, and then I'll go to harmonica. Okay, now I got to stop there before I get ahead because I think you might want to know what I did there. All right. First of all, you notice I switched to a different preset. Now, remember I said earlier, piano is a good alternating sound. So anybody can do that. Anybody can put on, I mean, look at over here. I'm going to play this. This one here doesn't have a split keyboard, so I'm going to put on the country and And I'm going to, now this one comes up to 118, but I'll put it up to 157 like it does. And I'll start off with the guitar. And then let's see. Now, I don't know if it has a harmonica, but let me just take a peek in here and see if it does. All right, it doesn't. Oh, yeah, it does have a harmonica. But if I don't have a harmonica, like the beginner's models may not have it, I'll switch back from guitar to piano, or I could do all three if you have them. Watch.
1, 2.
Hey, good looking. Isn't that the words? Hey, that was fun. Wait, the ending. Got to throw in the ending. All right. Now, what I'm doing, my goal here today was I'm actually kind of teaching you kind of what I was teaching Todd when I'm going to share this link to him and email. He's going to
I'm
bring.
sure he'll love it.
He'll love it. I've been talking a lot about Todd, a lot about a guy who doesn't work with us anymore. That's okay. I'm teaching it, and actually, he's not the only person. I've actually introduced this format to a few other people over the years, so that way they can do a show, and it was very successful. The trick was, the funniest part was when I heard him always doing my jokes and not making it as funny. That was funny to me. But here's a little trick for you. So, by the way, I went to country number 9 before I go further. And it gives me the Floyd piano preset, which basically means a piano with, let's see here. Here we go. Country 9, Floyd's piano, and it puts on the harmony, the country harmony. So when you're playing it, it actually does what we call the grace notes. So instead of sliding into the notes yourself, it does it for you. Okay? Now keep in mind, it only does it when you're playing the chord with it. All right? So I started, there was a simple setup. Country, swing, which is the 0 position. Just turn country 1 on. Look for country swing. Rhythm preset to get the balance set. And then I went to country category, number 4. And that gave me the guitar on the top, and it gave me the harmonic on the bottom. And then towards the end of the song, I switched to number 9, giving me the Floyd's pianos. Now, did you notice this little trick I did earlier? Okay, now this is a cool little trick. If your fingers are fast enough, you can put on the harmonica and go like this. Okay, now I know you'll have nimble, fast fingers, right? You've been at home for a while now. You're stuck at home practicing and rehearsing. You should have really loose fingers. But we still have some people, no way, there's no way possible. But, however, a little trick that we do a lot, and we don't share all the time. This is great with a clarinet, a trumpet, harmonica. If you take any sound in the solo and put it as a solo instrument, solo means how many? 1. So no matter how many times you try, no matter how many notes you play, it only plays 1 note at a time. So if you hold a note down, okay, and and while you're holding it, you hold another note, you press another note, it'll go to the next note up. Okay? If I do this and go up to this note, it'll do the same thing. It only chooses one note at a time. So what happens if you just hold a finger down or a thumb, and then you just tap while you're holding it, just take your other pointer finger, whatever one works for you, and just tap it as much fast as you can. Okay? But the key is you got to hold one down. You can't just, that won't do it. You got to hold one down. And it does that little fast trill effect. Trumpet. Let's put on a trumpet. When I did the Dixieland earlier. What else did I say? Harmonica, trumpet, flute works great with that. I use that a lot. That little trill, that's perfect. But the key is to put it as a solo sound. And when you're holding a note, it doesn't, when you get to the note you're playing, watch this. Now that's the note of the song. If I take the next note up and trill it, just don't end up on the next note up, end up on the note you're playing. Boy, that was worth being on the class today. I'm excited about teaching that feature. Some of you might say, yeah, I know that one. Old trick. But if you don't know it, that's great. All right. Now, last but not least, I actually have 3 or 4 others, but I'm not going to get through them. So what I'm going to do is teach you what I taught, what I played in the beginning. Because the beginning, I opened up with When the Saints Come Marching In, and then I think I went to Bye Bye Blues. Sometimes I'll do Bye Bye Blues. Sometimes I'll do 5 Foot 2 Eyes of Blue. Way before your time, okay? When I set up this setting, it's set to be extremely basic. For me, it's set up with just, okay, there's the drummer. And as I'm playing the song, I have to add things to it. Okay? But I'm going to tell you the generic setup of this, by the way. It's a Charleston. All right? But I have it at 240. Now I know some of you just gave me a weird look. I've got, if I could have just taken a picture of that moment, that would be a great use for the next horror film. Because I got like 20 different looks. 240 sounds fast, and if it is, put it at the tempo you want. But keep in mind, songs like When the Saints Go Marching In and Bye Bye Blues, believe it or not, you can play at very fast speeds without having to play too fast. Now, When the Saints, now that's at 240. It's not that bad. All right. So what I have is a Charleston at 240, and I have nothing on in the background, just the drummer. If you will, you could start off with your no chord. All right. And then as you're playing, now I have them on presets, but I'll tell you what I did. As I'm playing, oh, by the way, I have a clarinet down here and just a nice brass and a string section here. And that's what I did over here, by the way. All right. Then I bring in the auto bass. Now listen to the bass. This is auto bass 1. Now, if you're saying I've got one of the smaller models, what do I use? Use any style that's in the big band or swing category. You can put it at 240 if you want, but you're going to have to find a tempo that works for you. All right. And then I switched to a trumpet sound. Now, the trumpet's kind of fun on this because you can do it two ways. You could either use this trumpet and do that little trick I gave you. Or you can use this. And if you shake your hand fast enough, you get that trumpet shaking. Whew, that's even more tiring than the Broadway style. Or you just use the trumpet shake, and I think it does it for you automatically. Now, I know you all do it too. I'm not the only one. You play that trumpet and you hold that note down, and you're compelled to just wiggle your hand. All right? I don't know why. I just feel like moving my hand around. So that's the only setups I use in there. But what I did is I start off with the setup first without any rhythm, rhythm, but no bass, no orchestra, no nothing. Just a drummer. All right? And then as I play, I bring in the auto bass. Okay, this auto bass 2. Okay, and then I bring in the Genie and the Orchestra Plus. And when I really want to get crazy, now what I did over here is I actually played the bass with my feet, but here you just put on auto bass 1 and you get this. Now, if you really want to have some fun and you want to be able to play a song at this tempo, find a song like Bye Bye Blues. Because Bye Bye Blues, if you think about the song Bye Bye Blues, the notes are held for a long time. Now watch. Wow, I'm exhausted, all these fast songs. Now, I'm going to give you a little treat here because I need about 2 days, maybe sooner. I'm going to ask you to keep checking back. I'm going to post it a couple ways. And then I'm going to finish up with a number here for you. Let me make sure I have my setups in here. But before I go any further, questions about anything I've taught today? I should have stopped during the process, but I wanted to make sure to give you as much as I possibly could today. Any questions whatsoever?
Yes.
Who said that?
Ramon.
Ramon, where are you? I know you're there somewhere. Page 2. Okay, I got to switch my screen to page 2. Oh, there you are. You got something wrong with your arms there?
Just so you can see me.
Yes, I can see you. Go for it. What's your question, buddy?
You play the big band and the swing, and you started with the alto style. Did you leave the alto style on the whole time?
On the Little Brown Jug in the Mood medley?
Correct.
Okay, what I did is I started off with the swing band, the normal rhythm preset. Alto style was on. I used the introduction, so when it goes into the rhythm after the intro, it's automatically into that doo-wop type of sound. And then I actually play that song with the scat vocals, so I repeat the song with the scat vocals, and I still have the doo-wop sound, okay? When I go into In the Mood, what I do is I do a no chord,
Right.
and I adjust the tempo up and do all that, and then what I do is um, I go back to the saxophones, rhythm preset 0, and then I do turn off alter style when I play, because when I turn off alter style, it brings it back to those In the Mood fills.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Good question. Any others? Just unmute yourself or holler, raise your hand. I'll look, or use your raise hand feature. None whatsoever. Okay. So I'm going to give you multiple ways of acquiring this. Some are going to be easy. See, what camera do I have on now? I don't know which camera I'm looking at. Okay, I'll look at this camera. I'm trying to get high tech here with all my cameras. I don't know where to look. Whew. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple ways of acquiring some of this information. Okay. First thing I am going to do is the class that we're recording today is going to go up on YouTube. Okay, and make it available to everybody. And the minute I post it up, I'm not going to do it until I have the materials. So typically I try to do it the day of. Sometimes it takes me a day. Like on Tuesdays, for example, Dawn teaches 2 classes. There's another class. There's like 4 classes that I have to download and upload. It takes me a little bit. But today I will be able to download and upload right away, but I don't want to do it until I have the materials typed out, because I have all the information. I'm going to type it all out, basically what I told you today. So I hope you took some really good notes in the meantime. All right. And then what I'm going to do when I post it on YouTube, there's going to be a link to my Dropbox. Okay. And that link is going to give you a PDF attachment. Now that one's typically easier to access for most. And then you'll have the typed out version on there. Now, for those of you who are Patreon members, I'm going to post it there too, but it's not going to be a link. It's just going to be the actual PDF. So it's going to be just a little bit easier. And then I'm going to take it a step further. And this is the part that I'm hoping that someday we can teach a lot of students to do this. I have the group of presets that everything that I discussed today is also saved on presets. Some of them you don't need presets, but I also have them programmed. The presets that I designed for Todd. I should call this the Remembering Todd class. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that group of presets on there. Now that's a little bit trickier. The easiest way to explain it in the meantime and to experiment with is, if for those of you who have an A series or an E series and you want to download those presets in the Lowry instruments have never been as easy to download stuff as everything else in the world. Lowry didn't make that part very easy for most. But what I can tell you is this: if you do get to the point where you can download it, you want to copy and paste that file onto your USB stick that you use for your Lowry organ, if you use a Lowry USB, okay? And it has to go into a USB. On the USB, there's a folder that when you put on like this stick right here that I've been using, the minute I use it on a Lowry, it automatically puts what's called a Lowry folder on the USB. So anything that you save is supposed to go onto that USB, that Lowry folder. Now, to show you what I'm talking about, what I'm going to do, now that I'm thinking about it, is I'm going to, give me a minute. I've got to screen share this so you could see what I'm looking at. Okay. Woo. Everything's so big here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to screen share. And I'm not, again, this is something that I'm going to be upfront with you is not easy for many, but here's Inez, Sylvia, Sean. Can you see that there? Just a nod. Okay. All right. So this is my USB stick. Okay. I have something else on here, but you see this? In fact, let me just delete this. I don't need this anymore. All right. So here is my USB stick. It says Lowry. What happens is a lot of people will copy a file like this, and they put it on their USB here. And then they say the organ says there's nothing there. A USB has to have a Lowry folder on it. And then any preset that you copy and paste, if you will, goes in that Lowry folder. So all of these files are on here. These are all my things on here, okay? So if you are one to want to experiment with acquiring these presets and things that I post from time to time, if you download it, you access it, and you copy and you paste it into this folder, and then the organ will recognize it. Okay? The minute you use a Lowry USB on an instrument, assuming the USB works, right, Inez? Assuming we get one that once we get that, once you use it, it automatically puts a Lowry folder on there for you. Sometimes I get a blank USB, and I'll open it up here, and I'll put it what's called, I'll do this, and then I'll title it Lowry. Okay, and I'll put one on there myself. Now it won't let me put two of them, so it's going to complain. But I just wanted you to see that. All right. And what I tell a lot of people when I talk about this is I try to talk about it a little bit over time. Some people want to get into the USBs, and that's fine. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But the more you use it, when I post like a preset like this, it may come in handy. Because then all you have to do is load it in, like I gave to some of my staff members, and they load it in. I have on my screen here everything labeled. So I'll take a picture here as you'll be able to see in a minute. Okay, let me share this with my computer. And so I just took a picture because the camera won't show it very well. Okay, so what I just did, if I did it right, okay, is took a picture of the screen. This is what the presets look like when I load them in. So you see here it says do re mi drum intro, no biz, do re. There's the little brown jug saxes, brown jug scat, in the mood, in the mood, in the mood, in the mood. You see those are all my presets for those. And if I go to the next group of presets, you'd see, hey, good looking, etc., etc. Okay? So what happens is if stuff's done already for you and they're given to you, it's easier to just put on there instead of trying to follow the notes. So I'm trying to give it to you as many different ways today. One is I'm going to give you a handout on the YouTube when I post it. On the Patreon page, patreon.com/Fletcher Music Centers. Sean will type that in the chat when I play my last song here. And then I'm going to also put presets, and one is going to say A, one's going to say E. And then just as a bonus, I'm going to put a couple other. If you noticed when I had the USB in here, did you notice this? Look at this right here. You'll see that there's some songs in here that are what's called MP. I'm going to take one of these songs. Actually, I'll do the the Dixie medley that I did, I have an actual MP format. That means if anybody can acquire that, put that on their USB, you could play it on your computer or in your car. I'm going to also post that today as a little bonus for everybody. Now, here's the beauty. You can experiment with downloading all you want. You can't hurt your computer by downloading that stuff, okay? And that's the best way to do it. So, having said that, I'm going to finish with my last number. And I think I will close with a little holiday number for you. And I'm going to, let's see here. How about, we're going to do a little Santa Claus is Coming to Town mixed with a non-holiday song, all right? Because, you know, Santa Claus, I don't know if you know this, but, you know, Santa Claus was once a single person too. And you didn't, yeah. Everybody thinks Santa just was created one day and all of a sudden had a Mrs. Claus. And so I'm going to have a little fun with this number. So I'll do a little Santa Claus is Coming to Town. But before he came to town, I'll do before I play that song, you know, he kind of used to go out a lot to the bars. And yes. And so one of his favorite songs is Night Train, you know, and he's the stripper, you know, those types of songs. Yeah. You don't know this about Santa, but I do. He emails me a lot now. I finally got him set up on Zoom, by the way. Whew, that was tough. And then he met Mrs. Claus. And then there's another song, and then Mrs. Claus gave him a new theme song. That when they met was called "Don't Get Around Much Anymore." So, you know, and then he just started to. That's when the song "Santa Claus is Coming to Town" came about. So we'll do a little bit of the stripper and the night train, and then "Don't Get Around Much Anymore" because Mrs. Claus came in picture, said "You're not getting around much anymore," and then she changed his tune, right? So there we go. Now, folks, I just made that all up on the spot here, so hopefully that was worth it. Now I got to play those 3 songs. But by the way, before we go, it's that time of the year. We have some Christmas shows. I know if you did not get an email about our Sounds of the Season shows that we're doing, which camera am I looking at? That one. Make sure to contact your personal assistant right away, please, okay? We had to break it up into 4 different groups because of the timing, scheduling, and we wanted to do some different things than we normally do. And so that's happening. So if you have not received your email about that, and I've scheduled like 3 of them, week before, day of, I just want to make sure everybody got it. Those are around the corner. And it's that time of the year. You know, it is the 9th of the month. Christmas is on the 25th. That's how many days away? 25 minus 9, 10 would be 15, 14 days, about 2 weeks left. And I know some of you did not treat your spouse to their next Lowry organ, their next Christmas gift. And I've been emailing Santa, and he says, you all been good, and he wants to bring it. But nowadays, delivery has gone up a little bit, so we have to charge a little extra for Santa to deliver. And some of them are the cost of the organ. And if you don't have a spouse, you should treat yourself, okay? Say, okay. Everybody go like this. Okay, all right, that's good enough for me. So with that said, I'm going to do a little medley for you, and I'll tell you what I'm doing as I'm getting here and talking. I'm going to use a little Franken the Count at 115. And again, I start off with no drums. I'm doing it manually here, but let's see. I got a little jazz guitar. All right. You're going to hear a plunger trumpet. Let me change the view here so you can see this. Pardon me, folks. Bear with me. Is that a little better? Okay, well, it's a little better. Plunger trumpet's going to come in. And then I think a piano in there somewhere, okay? Just for whatever it's worth. All right, here we go. folks.
Good job, guys.
Now,
Very good.
believe it or
Very
not,
good.
it's just Jerome and I in here in this store all day long. So, this is what I got to put up with, I tell you.
Very good, Jerome.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed today's class. So stay safe, keep playing music, and mwah.
Mwah.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
Good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robert.
Thank you,
Yeah.
folks.
Good
Good
job.
to see you both.
Bye, Jerome.